guys, I had a lot of people asking how I line my bag, so I figured I would just turn my camera on while I line my bags. At least one, I'd like to get one more done today. For those of you that know me, it's been a busy weekend for me. So I have my pieces done. This is the bag that I'm lining today. Making myself space because I have to sew at my kitchen table. And my pieces would be my straps for the handles, and then the linings for my bags, and the linings for my bags include a zipper pocket, and then two big pockets, a clasp for keys, magnetic closure. So I'm going to do the straps and hopefully get this part sewn in. My zipper pockets, so you can't see the colors through the granny squares. I line the back of my zipper pockets with the same color as my lining. And yeah. I'm sure my table's going to shake with my phone. It's my Chinese menu. All my crazy plants. Alright, so let's see if I can accomplish this. It's really the only place I can put my phone. So I apologize if it shakes. So, to line my bags, I have on my machine, which I'm sure you can't see yet because I can barely see it, transparent thread. So my transparent thread is, oh, of course this one doesn't have the other side to it, but it's Coats & Clark. It's Coats & Clark, and it's transparent thread. It's 100% polyester. I don't know where to put it so it focuses. 100% polyester. I ripped this part off already in frustration, but you can see at the bottom it says transparent thread, and it is, Coats & Clark makes it. You can buy it at Joann's. So, let me get this started. So to line my bags, I want my strapping to come down a little bit further, because I am then going to cover it with the second part, the inside of the bag lining. So I bring this down a little bit further than the actual handle so that I can line it up when I'm done and cover it, and I can just stitch off, cut off the extra parts to it, and that'll fit perfectly across that handle. And then I just simply put it in my machine like I would put any other piece of fabric in my machine. And I line it up so I get the very edge. Make sure this is even in the center. I do have it on the longest top stitch that I can have. And I just simply take my time and take my time and stitch up that edge. I still do it slow, but it's certainly faster and more durable than hand stitching it. And I just kind of line it up so it's always in the same space. Down my stitches. And when you see, you can turn it around, you can see, I can show it closer when I get that side stitched, that you can't even tell where the stitching is. So you can't even see where the stitching is with that invisible thread, transparent thread. So I'm just going to finish down there. Cindy Robbins, Stella, I know I'm missing some of you guys. It's kind of hard for me to pay attention while I'm trying to sew. Good afternoon, Crazy Stitches. Trying to see who else joining here. If I'm missing you, I'm sorry. I'm only half paying attention so that I can get this done. But yeah, this is me at my favorite spot, sitting behind my sewing machine. A little bit of sarcasm. And then I'm going to go over to my mom's and make dinner. I do let this feed itself slowly. I don't pull or put any tension. If anything, I hold this closer and almost push this part so that I'm not stretching my crochet while I stitch on top of it. I'd like to get this bag done before I go over my mom's, so I pay attention. What time is it? 1:39? I like to go over around 3 o'clock. It gives her enough time to do what she wants to do. Me some time to get caught up on some things around my house. And this is one of the things I wanted to get caught up on this week. Glenda, if you're watching, this is your bag. This transparent thread is kind of like fishing line. If any of you guys have ever used fishing line, you understand. It likes to boing and bounce around and doesn't always stay where you want it to stay. So I have like this crazy, I have to grab my scissors, way of putting my thread on my machine, which is today. All the dandelions and all the trees. Crazy way of putting this thread on my machine, which includes a piece of plastic that I cut out from like it's just a top of a Tupperware container, and I glue it to the bottom of my spool with some hot glue. I glue it to the bottom of my spool with some hot glue, and that way you can't, oh, you can see it. When it bounces back, so you can see it's right against the plastic there. When it bounces back, it doesn't get caught against the spindle, because it does have a tendency to do that, and it's extremely frustrating because when it gets caught around the spindle, then it just like immediately snaps, and then I'm aggravated and I have to start all over again. Or I'll start with another piece right in the middle, and that's just aggravating. And those of you that have done straps know that, on my other thread, that if I start from this side and work my way down, I have to come back up to, I'm going to come back up to the top and start and work my way down. Yes, it is. I figured I'd jump on and kind of show you what was going on. But if you're doing straps, bound and determined to get a couple more done. Ooh, I'm going to use that as my scrap jar. If I start up here to do my straps and work my way down, I have to come back and start up here to work my way down. If I started from the end where I stopped, your straps can tend to curl. So you should always, if you start at this point, you should always come back to this very top and start at this point again. I know, I miss talking to you guys, so I figured I'd jump on. And I know I'm going to shake around because the only place I can really put my phone is attach it to the side of the table while I do this. And, yeah, this thread does bounce around a lot, but as long as you can hold it and get it started, and as long as you secure it up here at the top, like I have it secured. I don't know if you saw that, Lisa, but when I work with this transparent thread, I actually glue a bigger piece of just like a Tupperware container with hot glue so I can peel it off. That way the string, when it bounces back, because you can see it's like bouncy and funky. I don't think you can see that. It's like bounces and funky and twists. And if I have this here, you can see, maybe, because it's transparent, it won't bounce down and get caught on the spindle. Because if it bounces back down and gets caught on the spindle, then it just snaps. And then I'm really frustrated. And then I usually just stop after it's done it a couple times for me. So that's, yep. Coates and Clark makes it. It's 100% polyester, which is more heat tolerant than acrylic. And then I just put my fabric underneath it and on the largest setting, on the largest stitch, so I have mine on 4. I just take my time and go down that entire strap, which is what I'm doing first. I do my straps first. If any of you are on here that bought a bag, you can see when I turn it over there, you can't see that stitching at all. It just kind of blends in with the stitches. So it still takes me some time. It's not like it's super, super fast, but I think it's more secure, and it is definitely a little bit faster than hand stitching it in. And this thread is a pain to hand stitch in. Move over a little bit, you can see. I do sew a little bit faster than this, but not when I'm stitching my linings in, because I like to make sure I get them right along the same part of the stitch line from the crochet. So I really do take my time to put these in and line them up and get right on that edge. Almost got one strap done. How's everybody's weekend so far? Thank you, Lisa, for all the likes. I appreciate it. Any idea for tomorrow morning? Because I haven't even sat and thought about it yet. It's been all mom this weekend. Her first time up is traumatic from everybody. Aw, thank you, Janie. I'm glad you like it. I really am. Yeah, I take my time because I want to line that, you know, even though it's transparent and you really can't see it, I want to get it lined up with the stitches so that it's consistent. So, you know, it does take some time. Like I said, it is a little bit quicker. Well, it is quicker than hand stitching it, and I just think it's more secure. But, yeah, this is my attitude when I have to sew. Good afternoon, Trudy. But my mom tends to make things more traumatic than they really are, I think, when she comes up for the first time. Because everything's done. Water's on, plumbing's fixed. I know, right? The water's on. The plumber had been there and fixed the pipes that were broken. Although I wasn't quite sure about the water heaters because she has two of them over there, so I miscalculated the one, and she only had warm water for her shower, not cold water for her shower. So my husband went over this morning and replaced her heating element for her shower. So she went to church this morning and came home and said she's going to take a shower and take a nap since she can finally get a hot shower. I'm like, good, you do that because I'm spent and I have things I want to accomplish. At least a little bit. But I will say this. I have another bag of skulls done because that's what I've been working on while I sit over there. Is skulls. I don't know if any of you guys here saw Tyler jumped on a live yesterday, or did a live yesterday. And he was letting people join him on his live. Yeah, it's not really moving. It's it's her summer home. So I moved to where we used to camp as a kid, and my mother still has her place up here. And I'm right across the street from that place where I grew up coming up to camp. So, and that's my strapping. And it holds that tight. And one of the nice things about lining the bags like this is you don't have to hide all your ends, really. And I'm going to cut that off, just so I have enough to cover. So this is just one move-in of many for the summer, every time she comes up. But I feel bad. She can't get in and out of the tub this time, so she's actually going to have a new shower installed. Thanks. I have the other side of the strap to do, and then I have the inside of the bag too. But I always leave, I leave that little bit at the end, because when I put the linings in, the top part for the linings, I will bend down at the top so the top stitching kind of lines up, and then I put that over top like that, and that's how I stitch. And then I stitch this part in right over top of that. So like the handles are separate from the inside of the lining, but it does hold together, and it's like, I don't know, a little bit of added strength, I guess. Give me 1 second here. So when I do my linings, I hate having glue on my fingers, even hot glue. So when I do my linings for my bags, just like I have the pocket covered, this is the inside pocket, I have the pocket covered with the lining material, so it all looks the same if you're looking through the granny squares. I do the same with the magnetic closures. With the magnetic closures, I do some interfacing, and then after I do the interfacing, I put my closure on, and then I actually will permanently adhere another piece of fabric to it, so that when you look from the outside of the granny square, again, it's all the same fabric, so that you're not looking at like bright blue or the back of your snaps. You're just looking at the back of the fabric. All right, strap number 2, and then I can put it together. Just going to trim off this end here. This is my But that's what I use. I use for the way that I've made the handles. If you've followed my tutorials on YouTube to see how I've made the bags and the handles, my 1-inch, I have a 1-inch bias tape maker, which is pretty much just a like fancy folding tool so that you can iron your fabric into that single fold bias tape. I don't really cut on the bias, I just cut to make a strip. But the 1-inch one is the perfect size for the straps that I make on these bags. So alright, next side. I have to work from this way down, just my quirkiness. And again, I'm just going to line it up there so it's in the middle of that point from the top of the granny square. And I'm just going to shove it under my needle here, and you can see, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, how this thread just kind of boings. I don't know how else to describe it. Like fishing line, it just boing. I'm glad you guys joined me this morning. I missed the past couple of days. And I mean that both ways. Like, I missed them, I wasn't here, and I missed coming on and talking to you guys. So I figured, since a lot of you guys had asked me how I stitch my linings in, this is how I do it. Again, I just line it up. And when I get to the strap part, I do go as close as I possibly can to the edge of this. I get as close as I possibly can to the edge of this, so it almost looks like it's hand stitched in, but it's not. I cheat. I don't actually cheat. I do it for a reason. I feel more secure that the stitches aren't going to break if it's pulled. No, I wasn't sick, Trudy. Mom came up to her camp for the first time this year, and my permanent residence is right across the street from her camp. So it's been a lot of mom time. Fixing the plumbing, cooking, hanging out, things like that. So, but I don't know what to do for tomorrow. Anybody have any ideas? Unless I just take a miscellaneous week and just kind of open my big book of crochet and pick and teach a stitch. Yeah, the attention to detail is important. Hey Stephanie, I'm good. How are you? Yeah, busy with mom, for sure. But I told her, I said 3 o'clock today, because I want to get, I got one done yesterday. Well, I had the linings done. The linings take me forever. But I had 3 of them cut and ready pretty much to get sewn in. So I sewed one in I finished them, those 3 linings, and then I sewed one in yesterday morning, and now I want to get one sewed in today, and then hopefully the 3rd one sewn in tomorrow and some more cut, because I still have 4 more bags to line after these 3. That sounds great. I am good, Stephanie. Just a little bit busy this weekend. That was all. Trying to get the linings in my bags here. That sounds great. Just open my book and pick a stitch and just go with stitches this week. Is that what you were referring to? Yes. Okay. That will be it then. I won't have to plan because my mother is actually, she usually stays until Tuesday or Wednesday because she works at the end of the week. She still has a job that she goes to. So I won't, so she'll be leaving, although she doesn't usually leave until 10 or 11, so I may have to jump off real quick to say goodbye to her. But this weekend, she's leaving tomorrow because my niece has a school performance. And then she'll be back at the end of the month for Memorial Day. And then she'll be back the following weekend for my daughter's graduation. My summers are absolutely crazy. Oh, thanks. I didn't do the whole lining, but I am kind of showing you how I do them, or how I at least put them in. And since they're, I do have a couple of them done, I'll show you as soon as I get this part of the strap done. Since I had a couple of them ready to go in, I really want to get them done. There's no excuse for me to just leave them sit here and be unfinished. I'm trying really, really good. Even my husband said, I'm really proud of you. You've actually finished a lot of projects this year. And I have. Within the past 6 months, I've probably actually finished more projects that I started than I have in the past. Because you know how it goes. You start a project and go, oh, look, yarn. I know what I can make out of that. And then the next thing you know, you're doing something totally different. All the time here. But I've been really, really good that even if I pick up a new project, to make time every day to try to finish the ones that I have. Because my shop has done better than I anticipated. And like my husband says, you can't sell them if you don't finish them, so. Make sure that thread is where I want it to be since you can barely see it. So says Stephanie, you jumped in a little bit later. I'm going to show you my, so that was, I got half of it done. I have to stitch up the other side. But those are my handles. So I just, on my machine, I use a transparent thread and I stitch up as close as I can get. And you can see that you really can't tell where that stitching is on there if you get a straight line. And if you get it in the right spot, it kind of falls right into the crochet so you don't see the machine stitching on it. And I put the handles in first. And then these are the linings to my bags. So this right here, and I'll show you the inside. This is the part that you would see if you looked through the granny squares. So I hem the tops of them. And then, so I hem all the way around the top of the bag. And then I put a zipper pocket in, which I also cover with the lining. This is my zipper pocket. I also cover with the lining so that it matches when you're looking through the granny square holes, the other side of my snap. So when you look at the inside, this is the inside of the bag. It has my snap and my zipper pocket, and you can see the inside of my zipper pocket. It looks a lot more vibrant than it actually is. Um, and then on the other side I have two big pockets there. So that's the inside of my bag, and another snap, and then a little clip that you can put keys on, because it's one of my biggest. I can't stand to have to dig for my keys in my bag. Great, so let me get the other side of the strap on, and then I can actually put the lining to the bag in and call this one done. Thank you. I take a lot of time because I want it to be something that I like, because I'm such a bag lady, so I want it to be something that I like and something that if I looked at, I would want to buy and use. And those are things that I like in my bags. I like pockets. I like my tote bags to be big. I like them to look pretty, which I think the strapping not only helps to make it sturdy, but it looks nice when you look at the opposite side of it. So yeah, I do put a lot of attention to detail, and it might seem like it's a pain to begin with, but if it's something you're going to do a lot of, this is my scrap jar. I have to have a scrap jar when I use this thread because it's such a fine filament that it ends up just like, and it like boings like fishing line. It just ends up everywhere. So if I don't have like somewhere where I can actually put it where it's contained, I end up with it everywhere. And I don't want like one of my blind wiener dogs to decide they're gonna inhale it for some reason while they're scavenging the floor for snacks or whatever, crumbs, hoping somebody drops something. Alrighty, get that in there on the edge. And I'm going to work on the other edge and do the same thing. I'm going to just make sure I hold this so it's within the stitches and caught at pretty much the same point in the back of each one of the stitches. And again, I'm just using the longest stitch length on my machine. And I just make sure that I'm not stretching my fabric. I'm actually pushing my fabric through. I'm actually pushing my fabric through so that it kind of keeps it tight. It keeps the stitches tight instead of pulling it through. If I pulled it through, it would pull the stitches wider and looser. So I kind of push it through so the stitching stays the tension that I want it to stay. And I'll upload this one too on I'll upload this live to my NiftyKnotz talk if anybody wants to go back and watch me line this bag and see what I did. Thank you guys for all the likes. I'm so glad you guys jumped on. So Janie, you get to see, if you're still here, you get to see how I put your bag together. for all the likes, guys. You guys really are the best. I did miss beating on yesterday. The past couple of evenings. Playing my jazz and just chit-chatting. I don't know if I'll get this uploaded today or tomorrow, but I will put this live on TikTok so that you guys can go back and, or on YouTube. So if you guys want to go back and re-see that lining, or look at that lining again, I should say re-see, is that re-see a word? I don't know. And sit here and watch me stitch it in. Almost at the end. And then I get to do the fun part, which is the last part, which is, I was so happy about that. Hey, are you putting it back in the fridge?
Yeah.
This is almost the fun part because synchronized, motorized. Oh wow, that would be really cool. Although I can tell you, I learned how to sew on a treadle machine, the ones you pump your feet back and forth, and I almost kind of wish, with all the sitting that I do, to do this, which is one of the reasons why I only sit for about an hour, 2 hours tops, because I would literally sit all day. But I kind of almost wish that I could still do that, like pump my feet to make my sewing machine go. It would be good for my circulation. I'm sure it would be good for my calf muscles. Alrighty. Pull that thread out. I know you can barely even see that there's thread there. That's okay. I only put my presser foot down to hold those threads. I wouldn't typically put my presser foot down in between stitching if I was using a regular thread, but that needs to be held. Stitch off the end of my, clip off the end of my threads. And then I have a second handle put in. So now that I have my handles put in, this is the magic. This is the finishing. This is what makes me happy. I take my bag and I stuff my lining in it. And I open it up. And I reach down into the very bottom of the bag, and I grab it, and I pull it inside out. And I'll put a couple of pins there so you guys can see. This is one of the reasons why I don't sew all that often, is because I have to sit at my kitchen table And my kitchen table is literally not much more than a yardstick. It's maybe 38 or 40 inches square, so it's teeny tiny. So I'm going to just pin these up to where I want them. And I will fold those under. So I'll take my points and I'll fold them under so they match up with my strapping. Would be up a little bit further, so it matches up with my strapping, and then I can sew right along the edge again. But for now I'm going to pin it just to show you. I'm going to do that with all four sides, kind of pin it up to where it needs to be. I can fold them over when I get to that part. Ooh, it looks gloomy. We have two super nice days here. So you can see I have them all pinned to approximately where they're going to be. Just approximately, just to hold them there. And then if I pick this up, I can actually shove my hands down inside of it. And you can see it's like the bag turns inside out. And that's how I stitch it. I stitch it that way. So that I can see, so that my top of my stitch is right here, so that I can see that I'm actually catching, because I know I'm going to catch the bottom part. I just want to make sure that I'm catching the edge of the top part here, of the lining part. So I flip the whole thing inside out. And yeah, this is like a lot more elaborate than a lot of people do, but I don't know. I'm picky about my bags. Even the bags I carry. That's probably why I'm picky about the bags that I make, because I'm picky about the bags that I carry. My friend. Sometimes. Okay. So now I'm just going to make sure that I get this under here. And I am going to start with a corner. So I'm going to put my pins. I usually have a magnet that I just drop my pins on, but I don't have it out today. And I will fold this down. I fold it down kind of so it matches up the top stitching with the top stitching, which you really can't tell. You really can't tell on this gray fabric, but the top stitching is here. And then the top stitching is here. So I kind of try to match the top stitching with the top stitching when I fold that. If it's close, that's good for me. Let me turn my light back on. And then I do the same thing, which is give myself some back stitches there. This first part I have to pull through because it ends up being really tight. One of the reasons why my last sewing machine broke, because I tried to pull it through so many layers of heavy fabric. So when I went out to buy a new one, my husband's like, just buy the heavy duty one. And I said, you don't have to tell me twice. And I just want to, when I do this, I want to make sure I line up my V's. So if you see the V on my granny square, I want to match up the points to my V's when I come down here. So sometimes I'll put a pin there, just so I get them. That way I know whether or not I have to tug at my stitching a little bit, or if I have to push my stitching a little bit to match up with this part, the crochet part, because the crochet part's more malleable than and forgiving than the canvas part of it. So if I need to like pull this a little bit, to match the length of this, or if I need to push it a little bit to match the length, it's usually like 1/8 of an inch or so is it. I can do that. So I'm just going to the same way I did before, on the very edge of it. And I take my time to make sure I'm getting it exactly in the same spot along the stitch line. So in the same spot along the stitch line, I would mean if I were holding my, well, you can see there, I have exactly the same part of my stitches visible on that side than that side. So I can hold it to my stitch line so that I get a nice even stitch so that it kind of falls in place with the stitches on the back. You totally agree. Yeah, you know what? I want to make something that I would be happy to use. Again, I'm sorry I'm shaking, but hey, Cindy, I decided to jump on. I was going to line some bags before I went to Mom's. Or line a bag. I got my linings done yesterday, and I did get one bag done, totally lined yesterday. So I want to get the lining stitched in one more this afternoon. And then I should get the lining and the third one stitched tomorrow afternoon. And then I have to grab my other fabric and cut 4 more linings. Sometimes my magnetic closures are a little bit close there, but I just kind of do the best I can to get around them. Oh, whoops. That's the way I wanted to go. And I hold it down and pivot it and try to get it as much of a 45-degree angle as I can, because technically your granny squares should be at a 45-degree angle. Mine don't always get to that point, but I try to get them as close as I can. I'm not quite around that snap yet. No, I'm around that snap. Oh, thank you. I'm so patient. Oh, you guys are so good. No, I don't pin it into place. I just kind of try to go with the flow of the crochet stitches when I'm doing that. Each bag is approximately the same size, so I cut all the same size linings. Some of the bags, depending on like how tight my tension is, and if you guys watched my tutorial the other day, you saw the difference in my tension sometimes. So I have moments where my tension is super tight, and I'll go to line my bag, and when I put my bag on top of my lining, realize that it's a little bit smaller than my lining. And in that case, if it's too small, because the acrylic will stretch out a little bit and soften up. So if it's like a half an inch or an inch, I usually leave it. But if it's like, if it's 2 inches, if the end of my bag is like 2 inches too short for the lining of my bag, I will usually just take and draw a line here and just make a second seam and just cut that extra off the bottom of the bag. I don't usually have to do that, but every once in a while I get one that I've done a little bit tighter, that it's a little bit shorter. But they're the same amount of stitches and the same amount of granny squares. It's just my tension for the day, or whenever I was making them. So yeah, I do, for each bag I do the same exact size, or try to. That way I can just cut one day, you know, put zippers in one day, put pockets in one day. And I'm up here at the corner. Turn my light off so you can see. I'm up at the corner, so I will just bend this over. Get it to where I want it. And after I have it to where I want it, I know it's hard to see that, I will then just keep stitching up. And I'll show you that when I take it off the machine. This is the part that sometimes I have to pull because it's thick. This is one reason why I have to do them in pieces. I don't like doing zippers, but I found that I can glue my zipper in place with some washable, water-soluble glue, and you can actually buy that at the craft store, or you can just buy like, do I have over here? I have the things that they won't tell you in sewing school. It's just a washable Elmer's glue stick. In most fabrics, this will stick too fine, and then when you wash it, it just like comes out. So I can like set my zipper with the glue so that things don't shift and I don't have to pin them. And then I let them all dry, and then the next day I do my stitching around my zippers to secure them. So I think it makes a lot nicer looking zipper than it would be if I tried to pretend like I was a tailor and actually sew that zipper in the way a tailor would sew that zipper in. A yarny I am, a tailor I am not. So, and again, when I'm down at the corner, I just want to make sure I line up my, I know you can't see, line up my creases for my angles. So like where this crease is here, I just want to make sure I get the crease to my bag at the same point the crease to my ankle is. And then I just move it all around, and I'm halfway done. Yeah, you know what? I watch all these tutorials and they use this double-sided tape, which is meant for sewing. And they mention, you know, water-soluble glues. And they mention water-soluble glues. And the tape that they use is double-sided and it's water-soluble as well. And a lot of tailors actually use those tape, that double-sided tape, to set their zippers. So then I saw a tutorial that said, like, you don't have to go to Joann's and buy it. As long as it's any sort of washable, water-soluble glue, you can use it. And I really like the glue sticks because they tack very fast. They tack very fast and stick fast, and they don't gum up my machine because they tack. So I can like tack them in the morning. What a great idea. Thank you. So like I can tack them in the morning and a couple hours later they're dry enough to sew through. So if I decide I want to do a second step of my bags linings, I can just go back and I can do that second step without worrying about, my husband's got some Orioles out there looking outside. My husband feeds the birds. He likes to feed the Orioles. But yeah, the glue trick was like a lifesaver to me because I don't think I'd be putting zippers in too many bags if I had to actually put them in without securing them first. And pins just don't do it justice. I'm sorry. Pins just do not do it justice when you want it to hold, when you really want it to hold. Alright, I'm almost 3/4 of the way done with this. And I've decided, usually when I do markets, I have to adjust my prices because people don't want to, you know, people look at my stuff and say, oh, you want how much for that? My husband and I were talking and we decided that we are not going to do that this year. That if I can sell these bags all day long online, then that's what people need to pay for them when they go to a market. And I do think it's totally worth it. But again, that's my opinion, and I'm the one making them. But, however, you can see I've been sitting here for an hour stitching this lining in, and even though I've been like rattling away and chattering away, I have still been consistently sewing this. And that hour was not just the whole lining. That hour was just simply stitching the lining into the bag. So if you can imagine the time that I take to actually make the lining on top of making the bag, it takes a lot of time. It's really time consuming. And I don't know if Janie's around, but did you think that was worth the money you spent? Yeah. You know what, it's true, because I do actually, I like my bags. So you do have the love into it. I make them so that I like to look at them, that I'm proud of what I'm looking at when I put my stuff out or when I put my stuff online. I'm proud of the job that I did. You know, I took a finished one over to my mom. Absolutely. That's good to hear. Because I worry. I'm just like everybody else. Like, am I charging too much money for it? Then I think of the hours, the time it takes to make each granny square, and there's 13 of them. It takes me an hour and a half to stitch them all together. Then it takes me another hour or two to do the handles. And thank you. And you guys have seen me crochet. It's not like I crochet slow. I like crochet like a mad woman. So it's not like I'm sitting there la-laing around just taking my time saying, oh, well, you know, pay me for that time that I just kind of like putzed around. You know, it's like I'm on a mission. And again, I'm not somebody that crochets very slow, so, oh my god, I thought I was almost done. Now I'm almost 3/4 of the way done. I'm glad you think that was worth it, Janie. That makes my day to know that I don't feel like I'm overcharging for my bags, which my husband tells me I should be charging more for them, but I just can't, I don't know. I can't justify charging more for them. Especially when I enjoy doing it. But selling them is a good idea because I certainly don't need 50 bags sitting around my house, which is exactly what would happen. My daughter's laughing because
it has happened.
It has happened.
It's in the process of happening.
I feel the same way with my other craft dog, but no. Holy crap. Price is very reasonable. Thank you. Hey, Glenda. If you hang in for a few minutes, I'm going to show you what I'm working on. But yeah, I would never in my life do a blanket to donate it. No way. Feel the same with people don't appreciate our time. No, they don't appreciate our time. They just kind of say, oh, well, you know, that's your hobby. Well, no, it's not. It's actually more like a business now, and they don't appreciate the fact that when you get to this point, you have to run it like a business. And you have to put the time into it like it's a business. I have to move this. Daughter. Is there any more leftovers in there from yesterday?
Where is that?
Huh?
No.
Is there rice in there?
There's rice.
I forgot what I was saying. It just flew out of my brain. Alrighty, now I am 3/4 of the way done, so I'm almost finished. And that will have been, this is the hour point right now. So at this point right now, I've been stitching this for 1 hour. Just putting the lining in. I'm almost there, Glenda, if you can hang on. I shouldn't feel bad. I don't know. No, I don't think you should feel bad about saying no. A blanket's a lot of work and they don't realize that. Just like if somebody asked me to donate one of these bags, it would have to be a cause that I was really devoted to for me to want to sit and make one of these bags. And even then, it would probably be some crazy funky colors that match the cause. If that makes sense. And again, it would have to be something really, really, I know my table's shaking. This is the last little bit of it. So for those of you that ask, it doesn't take me an hour to line my bags. It takes me an hour to stitch the lining in my bags once I finish the lining for my bags. And believe it or not, that's the first time I'm using your strawberries in my scrap jar. I'm using your strawberry as my scrap jar so that I don't get this thread everywhere. And that's the first time I've actually timed myself. Because I usually just kind of sit and take my time and do it. I don't usually time myself. Alrighty. So now, let me move this out of the way. And that is the inside of my bag, which is gray and brown. And gray and brown with a blue lining, which looks so much brighter on camera than it actually is. And Glenda. Fluff it out there, make sure my lining's at the bottom there. Right there, Glenda, what do you think? You love it? That's so pretty. I can't see that. Good. That's it. So you got to actually sit there and watch me finish it. All the way up through, I think you might have missed the handles, but that one's done and ready to go. I will... So, thank you. Yep, done and ready to go. So, if you want, why do you feel teary-eyed? And you guys watch me make some of those squares too, yeah. Glenda, I can send you my email address. Or if you want to send me your email address through TikTok, if you want to send me your email address, I'll create like a private listing and I can send you the link to the listing. Or, because I hate to put it on my shop and have somebody jump in and buy it if you weren't ready to buy it, if you still wanted it. And I just want to make sure, did you still want it? You're ready? Okay. You know what? Give me a second. I'm going to jump off this live. And Glenda, can you, can I message you on TikTok? Okay, I'll tell you what. If you just want to give me maybe 10 minutes, I'll just snap like a quick photo of like the squares or something just so that it, you know, it asks for a picture and I have a picture to put up there. And I'll just put it right up on my site if you just want to check. No, you don't have to be friend. Oh, maybe you do. I don't know. You're getting a gorgeous bag, Glenda. Thank you very much, Jamie. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to work on doing that right now. It takes me about 10 minutes, maybe, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes. So if you want to give me 5 or 10 minutes and then start checking my shop site in the bag section where it says featured sections, if you would just want to keep clicking there and check for it, I will just put it in the listing as Glenda's bag, if that's okay. Okay. All right, so I'm going to sign off this live. I'm going to snap a quick photo, and I'm going to get it up on my Square site. Give me like 5 to 10 minutes, and I'll put it in there as Glenda's bag. That way you don't have to worry about following a link for a private listing. And thank you so much. I really do truly appreciate it. And I will post this one up. I don't know, if I don't get it up there tonight, I'll get it up there sometime tomorrow morning. So that you guys can rewatch me stitching that bag in if you want. Thank you guys for joining me. You made my day. Missed that. I will see you tomorrow for just miscellaneous stitch week. And aw, thank you. I'm a lucky girl too. I appreciate it. See you, Stephanie, Melanie, Janie. I'll see you guys all tomorrow morning.